Frank Morrison's hands trembled as blood dripped from his split lip onto the worn kitchen linoleum. The three men circling him laughed. The tall one with the snake tattoo had just demanded his Social Security check for the third time this month. Frank tried to speak, tried to tell them his son would be home soon, but the words came out broken. "My boy, he's coming." The snake-tattooed thug grabbed Frank's throat. "Your boy ain't been here in 2 years, old man. You're all alone." Frank's chest tightened, not from the grip, but from the truth. Marcus hadn't called in 18 months. Before we continue with Frank's story, please subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell. Stay with us until the very end. This story will take turns you won't see coming. And comment below telling us what city you're watching from. We love seeing how far these stories travel. The first punch hadn't been the worst part. Frank Morrison had taken worse in Vietnam. Shrapnel that left his left leg permanently stiff, a bayonet wound that still ached when rain was coming. He'd survived the Tet Offensive, buried friends in mud halfway around the world, come home to a country that spit on his uniform. Physical pain he understood. Physical pain had rules. This was different. "I said give me the goddamn check, old man." The voice belonged to Devin Price, though Frank didn't know his name yet. 26 years old, 6'3", covered in prison tattoos that told stories Devin thought made him hard. The snake wrapped around his forearm was supposed to mean rebirth. Instead, it just marked him as stupid enough to join the Southside Kings at 17. Frank's fingers clutched the edge of his kitchen table. His pension check, all $1,847 of it, sat in his shirt pocket. It was supposed to last the month. Rent, utilities, the medications that kept his heart from giving out. Maybe enough left over for the good coffee his late wife Sarah used to make, the kind that didn't taste like dirt. "There's nothing for you here," Frank said. His voice came out steady despite the blood in his mouth. "Just leave." Devin's laugh was ugly. He nodded to the two men flanking him, both younger, both hungry in that way that meant they'd do anything Devin told them to. The one on the left, Jerry, had a baby face that didn't match his dead eyes. The one on the right, Carlos, kept cracking his knuckles like he'd seen in movies. "Nothing for us?" Devin stepped closer. "Old man, you got that check. You got this house. You probably got a TV we could sell, maybe some jewelry your dead wife left behind." Frank's jaw tightened. "Don't talk about Sarah." "Or what?" Devin's hand shot out, grabbing Frank's collar. "You gonna stop me? You can barely stand up straight." It was true. Frank's left leg had been hurting more lately. The doctors said it was arthritis, bone on bone where the shrapnel had shattered his femur. On bad days, he needed the cane leaning against the wall. Today was a bad day. But Devin didn't know about the other thing doctors had told Frank. The thing Frank hadn't even told Marcus yet. 6 months. Maybe 8 if the cancer treatment worked. "Let him go, D." Jerry shifted his weight. "We got the check. Let's just bounce." "Nah." Devin's grip tightened. "This old fuck needs to learn respect. Needs to understand how things work in this neighborhood now." Frank had lived in this house for 32 years, bought it with Sarah when Marcus was still in diapers, when the neighborhood had parks where kids played and neighbors who knew each other's names. He'd watched it change, watched families move out and dealers move in, watched the old corner store where Marcus bought candy become a front for God knows what. But it was still his house. "Things work," Frank said quietly, "the way they've always worked. You make choices. You live with them." The second punch came then. Frank's head snapped back, stars exploding across his vision. He tasted copper, felt something loose in his mouth. A tooth, maybe. The table caught him as his legs gave out. "D, man, come on!" Carlos started. "Shut up!" Devon grabbed Frank's shirt pocket, tore it open. The check fluttered to the floor. There we go. Frank's hand shot out, faster than Devon expected. He grabbed the check, crumpled it in his fist. "You got some fight left." Devon's smile was shark-like. "I respect that. I really do." The kick caught Frank in the ribs. He heard something crack, felt fire spread through his chest. The check fell from his hand. But Frank's mind wasn't on the pain. It was on Marcus. Marcus, who'd left for boot camp at 18 with fire in his eyes and something to prove. Marcus, who'd called religiously every Sunday for the first 2 years, voice full of stories about training, about making it through BUD/S, about becoming what Frank had always known he could be. Marcus, who'd stopped calling 18 months ago. The letters had stopped too. The occasional text message that said, "Busy, talk soon," dried up. Frank had tried calling, got voicemail, sent emails to an address he wasn't sure worked anymore, wrote letters to an APO address that might not exist. Sarah had been alive then. She'd squeezed Frank's hand and said Marcus was just focused, just doing important work. She'd said he'd come home when he could. Then Sarah's heart gave out one Tuesday morning, and Frank buried her alone. No Marcus at the funeral. No call. No letter. Just silence. "Hey!" Devon's voice cut through the memory. "You still with us, old man?" Frank's vision focused. The check was in Devon's hand now. He was smoothing it out, grinning. "This'll do for a start," Devon said. "But we'll be back. First of every month, just like clockwork. You're going to be our retirement plan." "No." The word came out weak, but Frank meant it. "No?" Devon crouched down, put his face close to Frank's. His breath smelled like cigarettes and energy drinks. "You think you got a choice?" "I think," Frank said, each word costing him, "you're making a mistake." Devon stood up, laughed. "The only mistake here is you thinking you matter. You're just some old vet living alone, waiting to die. Nobody cares about you. Your neighbors don't even know your name. And your son?" He spat on Frank's floor. "Your son forgot you exist." The words hurt worse than the punches, because they might be true. "Let's go." Devon pocketed the check. "Old man's not worth any more time." They left through the back door, the same way they'd come in. Frank heard them laughing as they crossed his yard, heard a car start up in the alley. Then, silence. Frank lay on his kitchen floor, ribs screaming, mouth bleeding, and let himself feel it. All of it. The pain, the fear, the loneliness that had been his constant companion since Sarah died. But mostly the anger. Not at Devon and his thugs. Frank had seen enough evil in his life to know they were small time. Pathetic, really. Kids playing at being hard because they'd never faced anything actually hard. The anger was at himself. For being weak. For being old. For being alone when he'd raised a son who was supposed to be here, who was supposed to give a damn. "Marcus," Frank whispered to the empty house. "Where are you?" Across the country, in a briefing room at Naval Amphibious Base Coronado, Lieutenant Commander Marcus Morrison sat in a chair that felt like it was made of thorns. The psychologist across from him, Dr. Patricia Chen, mid-40s, kind eyes that had seen too much, waited patiently. "I can't clear you for active duty until we finish this conversation," she said gently. Marcus's jaw worked. He was 34, built like violence, with scars that told stories he'd never speak about. His file was so classified that Dr. Chen only got to see the parts that weren't redacted. But she didn't need to read the file to know Marcus was breaking. "There's nothing to talk about," Marcus said. You lost 3 men in Syria. I lost brothers. Marcus's voice was flat. Not men. Brothers. Tell me about them. Marcus's hands clenched. He'd been holding it together for 6 months. 6 months of debriefings, after-action reports, and mandatory psych evals. 6 months of waking up at 0300, covered in sweat, seeing Ramirez's face, hearing Johnson's last words, feeling Williams's blood on his hands. I can't, he said. Can't or won't? Does it matter? Dr. Chen leaned forward. Marcus, you've been through hell. You've done things for your country that most people couldn't imagine. But you're not a machine. You're a human being who watched his teammates die. You need to process that. I need to get back to work. Work is what broke you. The words hung in the air. Marcus wanted to deny them, wanted to stand up and walk out, wanted to do what he'd always done. Push it down, lock it away, keep moving forward. But his hands were shaking. When's the last time you talked to your family? Dr. Chen asked. The question hit like a bullet. Marcus's father. Frank Morrison, the man who'd taught Marcus what honor meant, who'd shown him that strength wasn't about how hard you could hit, but how much you could endure. The man who'd driven Marcus to the recruiter's office, who'd saluted him when he graduated boot camp, whose eyes had shone with pride at Marcus's BUD/S graduation. The man Marcus hadn't called in 18 months. My mother died last year, Marcus said quietly. I know. I'm sorry. Dr. Chen's voice was genuine. Did you go to the funeral? I was in Syria. The funeral was in April. You were stateside in March. Marcus's throat tightened. The mission. You chose the mission over saying goodbye to your mother. That's not fair. No? Dr. Chen pulled out a piece of paper. You've taken exactly 2 days of leave in the past 3 years. You volunteer for every deployment, every operation, every mission that comes up. You're running from something, Marcus. I'm serving my country. You're hiding. Dr. Chen's voice was firm, but not unkind. And I think you know it. Marcus stood up. Are we done? Not until you're honest with me. Dr. Chen didn't move. What are you really afraid of? The answer came before Marcus could stop it. That if I slow down, if I stop moving, I'll have to feel it all. And if I feel it all, I'll break completely. The admission shook him. Marcus sat back down hard, his breathing shallow. That's the most honest thing you've said in 6 sessions, Dr. Chen said gently. Now we can actually start helping you. I don't need help. Your hands are shaking. You haven't slept more than 3 hours at a stretch in months. You've isolated yourself from everyone who cares about you. She paused. When's the last time you talked to your father? Marcus's jaw clenched. He doesn't need to hear from me. Are you sure about that? He's got his own life. Marcus, your mother died. Don't you think your father might need his son? The words landed like a punch. Marcus had spent 18 months telling himself his father was fine, that Frank Morrison was tough, that he didn't need anyone, but the truth was simpler and uglier. Marcus had been too afraid to call, afraid his father would ask where he'd been, afraid he'd have to explain why he'd missed the funeral, why he'd chosen a mission over saying goodbye to his mother. Afraid Frank would hear the truth in his voice, that Marcus was breaking, that the son he'd been so proud of was coming apart at the seams. I'll call him, Marcus said, knowing it was a lie. Dr. Chen saw through it. I'm putting you on mandatory leave, 4 weeks starting tomorrow. Go see your father. Make peace with what you've lost. Then we'll talk about clearing you for duty." "You can't." "I can, and I am." Her voice was firm. "You're one of the best operators SEAL Team 7 has ever produced. But right now, you're a danger to yourself and your team. Take the time. Heal. Come back ready." Marcus wanted to argue, wanted to fight, but he was so tired. 4 weeks, he said. 4 weeks, Dr. Chen confirmed. "Go home, Marcus. Your father needs you. And I think you need him too." Frank Morrison managed to pull himself up using the kitchen table. His ribs were definitely broken. He could feel the sharp edges grinding against each other with every breath. His lip was split, his right eye was swelling shut, and something in his mouth was definitely loose. But he was alive. He'd been through worse. Vietnam had taught him that the body could endure almost anything if the mind was strong enough. And Frank's mind, despite everything, was still sharp. He made it to the bathroom, looked at himself in the mirror. The face staring back was old, beaten, tired. Blood matted his gray hair. His skin, weathered from years in the sun, was pale beneath the bruises starting to form. But his eyes were still clear. Frank washed the blood off carefully, wincing with each movement. The pain was manageable. He'd been managing pain for 50 years. What wasn't manageable was the fear. Not fear of Devon and his thugs. Frank had faced worse than punk kids playing gangster. Fear that they were right. Fear that he was alone. That Marcus really had forgotten him. That he'd die in this house without anyone knowing, without anyone caring. Sarah's voice echoed in his memory. "Marcus loves you. He's just scared." "Scared of what?" Frank had asked. "Of being like you. Of being so good at duty that he forgets how to be a son." Frank hadn't understood then, but looking at his reflection now, beaten and alone, he thought maybe Sarah had seen something he'd missed. The phone rang. Frank's heart jumped. For one ridiculous moment, he thought it might be Marcus, that somehow his son had sensed something was wrong, had called at exactly the right moment. But when Frank made it to the living room, limping and gasping, the caller ID showed a local number he didn't recognize. He answered anyway. "Hello?" "Mr. Morrison?" A woman's voice, professional. "This is Jennifer Chang from County General Hospital. We have your son listed as your emergency contact, but we've been unable to reach him. I'm calling because you missed your oncology appointment this morning." Frank's hand tightened on the phone. The appointment. He'd completely forgotten. "I'm sorry," he said. "I had a situation." "Are you all right? You sound hurt." "I'm fine." "Mr. Morrison, you know how important these appointments are. Dr. Patel needs to monitor your treatment, and we need to schedule your next round of chemotherapy." Frank looked around his empty house, at the blood on his kitchen floor, at the back door hanging slightly open where Devon had left it. "I'll reschedule," he said. "Please do. And, Mr. Morrison?" Her voice softened. "Is there someone who can stay with you? The treatment can be rough, and you shouldn't be alone." Shouldn't be alone. Frank almost laughed. Instead, he said, "I'll manage. Thank you for calling." He hung up before she could press further. The house was too quiet. It had been too quiet since Sarah died, but now the silence felt oppressive, dangerous. Frank could hear every creak of the floorboards, every whisper of wind through the poorly sealed windows. He thought about calling the police, filing a report. But what would he say? 3 men broke in and stole my pension check? The cops in this neighborhood barely showed up for gunshots anymore. A beaten old man wouldn't rate high on their priority list. Besides, Frank had his pride. He'd survived Vietnam, raised a Navy SEAL, buried his wife with dignity. He wasn't about to become some victim in a police report, some sad story in the local news. He'd handle it himself. Somehow. Frank made it to his bedroom, each step agony. He kept a .45 in the nightstand, the same sidearm he'd carried in Vietnam, maintained and cleaned religiously, even though he hadn't fired it in 20 years. He checked it now. Loaded, clean, ready. But what good was a gun against what he was really facing? Devon would be back, that was certain. First of every month, he'd said, and Frank couldn't fight them off forever. Sooner or later, they'd do more than take his check. They'd take his house, his dignity, maybe his life. And Marcus would never know. Would never know his father had died alone, beaten by thugs in the house where Marcus grew up. Would never know Frank had cancer, had been fighting it quietly for 6 months without telling anyone. Would never know how many nights Frank had sat in this bedroom, phone in hand, wanting to call, but too proud to admit he needed his son. "Damn you, Marcus," Frank whispered. "I raised you better than this." But had he? Frank thought back to Marcus's childhood, the long deployments when Frank had been gone for months at a time, the way Frank had taught Marcus to be strong, to be tough, to never show weakness. The time 8-year-old Marcus had broken his arm, and Frank had told him Morrison men don't cry. Maybe Frank had taught Marcus exactly what he'd intended, how to be a soldier, how to do his duty, how to put the mission first. And maybe that's why Marcus hadn't called, because he'd learned too well. Frank lay down on his bed, ribs screaming in protest. The ceiling fan turned slowly above him, the same fan he'd installed when Marcus was 10, the same fan that had watched over him and Sarah for decades. He closed his eyes and let himself remember. Marcus at 6, catching his first fish. Marcus at 12, standing up to a bully twice his size. Marcus at 16, working 2 jobs to save for college. Marcus at 18, shoulders back and eyes forward as he took his oath. Marcus at 25, earning his trident. Marcus at 32, at Sarah's funeral. Except Marcus hadn't been at the funeral. The memory Frank was reaching for didn't exist. Frank opened his eyes, felt something wet on his cheeks. He wiped it away, angry at himself. Morrison men don't cry. But Frank was alone in his bedroom, beaten and broken and dying, and there was no one to see. So he let the tears come. For Sarah, for Marcus, for himself. For all the words left unsaid and all the calls never made. The phone sat on his nightstand, silent as a grave. Frank looked at it for a long time. Then, moving slowly because of the pain, he picked it up, scrolled through his contacts to a number he knew by heart but hadn't dialed in 18 months. Marcus. His finger hovered over the call button. "Please," Frank whispered, not sure if he was praying or just hoping. "Please pick up." He pressed the button. The phone rang once, twice, 3 times, then voicemail. Marcus's voice, professional and distant. "You've reached Lieutenant Commander Morrison. I'm unable to take your call. Leave a message." The beep seemed to echo in the empty room. Frank opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. "Marcus," he finally said, his voice rough. "It's your father. I know it's been a while. I know you're busy, but He stopped. What could he say? "I'm dying? I got beaten today? I need you?" Morrison men don't need anyone. "I just wanted to hear your voice," Frank said instead. "Call me when you can. I love you, son." He hung up, lay back down, and waited for a call that he knew, deep down, probably wouldn't come. 3,000 miles away, Marcus Morrison stood in his apartment, holding his phone. The screen showed 17 missed calls from numbers he didn't recognize. One voicemail notification. His finger hovered over it. Dr. Chen's words echoed. "Go home, Marcus. Your father needs you." But Marcus had been so good at running, so practiced at pushing everything down. He deleted the voicemail notification without listening, told himself he'd call his father tomorrow, told himself the lie he'd been telling for 18 months, and tried to believe it. In his small house across the country, Frank Morrison closed his eyes and tried to breathe through the pain. The house creaked and settled around him, alone, always alone. And in the darkness, Frank whispered a prayer he hadn't said since Vietnam. "Please, not like this. Don't let it end like this." The night had no answer, but somewhere, things were already in motion. Devon Price was counting Frank's pension check, planning next month's visit. Dr. Chen was filing paperwork for Marcus's mandatory leave, and in the space between father and son, between pride and pain, between duty and love, something was about to break. The question was whether it would break them both, or finally bring them together. Frank woke at 04:30 like he had every day for 50 years. Military habits died harder than men. The pain hit immediately. His ribs felt like broken glass grinding together. His face was swollen, tight. When he tried to sit up, his body screamed protests that echoed through every nerve. But he sat up anyway. The house was dark except for the streetlight bleeding through the curtains. Frank could hear the neighborhood waking up, cars starting, doors slamming, someone shouting in Spanish 3 houses down. The same sounds that had accompanied every morning since this place started dying. He made it to the bathroom, looked at the damage in better light. Both eyes were blackened now. His lip had scabbed over but split when he tried to drink water. The loose tooth he'd felt was definitely broken. "You look like hell, Frank," he told his reflection. His phone sat on the counter. No missed calls, no messages. Marcus hadn't called back. Frank had lain awake half the night telling himself it didn't matter, that Marcus was busy, that SEALs don't keep regular hours. But the truth sat in his gut like lead. His son had heard that voicemail, or would hear it eventually, and wouldn't call because 18 months of silence said more than any words could. Frank swallowed 3 ibuprofen dry, ignored the way his hands shook. The cancer medication made everything worse. The pain, the fatigue, the creeping sense that his body was betraying him from the inside out. He had another chemo appointment in 2 weeks, assuming he lived that long. The thought came dark and quick. Frank pushed it away, focused on getting dressed. Each movement was deliberate, careful. Button the shirt. Pull on the pants. Lace the boots he'd worn since Sarah bought them for his 65th birthday. He made it downstairs just as someone knocked on his front door. Frank froze. Devon wouldn't knock. Devon would come through the back again, uninvited and violent. The knock came again, softer this time. "Mr. Morrison? It's Angela, from next door." Angela Martinez, 32, single mother of 2, worked nights at the hospital. Frank had helped her fix her car last month, wouldn't take payment. Good woman. Tired eyes but strong spine. Frank opened the door carefully. Angela's expression changed the moment she saw his face. "Jesus Christ, what happened?" "I fell." "Bullshit." She pushed past him, gentle but firm. I know what a beating looks like. My ex-husband taught me that. Frank closed the door. It's handled. Is it? Angela's voice was sharp. Because I saw 3 guys leave through your back gate yesterday evening. Saw them get into a car that's been cruising this block for weeks. You should stay out of it. Probably. She crossed her arms. But I won't. Who were they? Frank's jaw worked. Pride warred with practicality. Pride usually won, but he was too tired today. I don't know their names. They took my pension check. Angela's face darkened. The Southside Kings. You know them? Everyone knows them. They've been hitting old folks all over the neighborhood. Mrs. Chen 2 streets over, Mr. Rodriguez on 5th, the Johnsons on Park. Police don't care. They say it's low priority. Frank felt something shift in his chest. They hit other people? At least 6 I know about. Always the same pattern. Break in through the back, beat them enough to scare them, take whatever money they've got, then come back the next month. She paused. Did they say they'd come back? 1st of every month. Then you need to leave. Stay with family until... I don't have family. The words came out harsher than Frank intended. My wife's dead. My son doesn't call. Angela's expression softened. I'm sorry. Don't be. I'm fine here. You're not fine. Look at you. She gestured at his face. You need to see a doctor. I've seen enough doctors. Something in his tone made Angela pause. What does that mean? Frank turned away. Nothing. Thank you for checking on me. I appreciate it. Mr. Morrison. I'm tired, Angela. Please. She hesitated, then sighed. If you need anything at all, I'm right next door. After she left, Frank stood in his living room and felt the walls closing in. 6 other people. 6 other victims of Devon and his thugs. 6 other people living in fear, probably wondering where the police were, where help was, where justice had gone. Frank had spent his whole life believing in justice, believing that good men doing good things made a difference. He'd fought in Vietnam for it, raised Marcus to believe in it, worked 40 years at the steel mill and paid his taxes and followed the rules. And now he was beaten in his own home while the world looked away. The anger that started yesterday grew hotter. Frank made a decision. Now, Marcus Morrison sat in his apartment and stared at the bottle. Bourbon. The expensive kind. The kind that went down smooth and made forgetting easier. He'd been staring at it for 2 hours. Dr. Chen had signed his leave papers that afternoon. 4 weeks mandatory. Report back February 28th. Find your center. Heal. All bureaucratic bullshit for, you're broken, go away until you're useful again. Marcus knew he was being unfair. Dr. Chen was trying to help. But knowing something intellectually and feeling it emotionally were different things. He picked up the bottle. Put it down. Picked it up again. His phone sat next to it, silent. 17 missed calls from yesterday. 1 voicemail he'd deleted. Marcus told himself he'd listen to it later. Told himself it was probably some recruiter or wrong number. Told himself the sick feeling in his gut had nothing to do with the fact that one of those numbers had a Virginia area code. His father's area code. Screw it. Marcus opened the bourbon, poured 3 fingers, drank it in 1 swallow. It burned. Good. He wanted it to burn. He poured another. The apartment around him was sterile, impersonal. Government-issued furniture. Nothing on the walls, no photos, no memories. Just a place to sleep between deployments. Marcus couldn't remember the last time he'd been here more than a week. Couldn't remember the last time he'd felt anything except the mission. His team used to joke that Marcus was made of ice, cool under fire, never rattled, the guy you wanted on point because nothing shook him. They'd stopped joking after Syria. After Ramirez caught a bullet meant for Marcus. After Johnson bled out in Marcus's arms. After Williams. Marcus drank more bourbon. His phone buzzed. Text from Tommy Chen, his best friend since BUD/S, one of the few people who'd stuck around after Syria. "You good, bro?" Marcus typed back. "Fine." "Bullshit. Where are you?" "Home. Coming over." "Don't." "Too late. Already driving." Marcus put the phone down, finished his drink. Tommy would be here in 15 minutes. He'd see the bourbon, see Marcus's face, know exactly what was happening. And he'd try to help, because that's what Tommy did. The thought made Marcus want to drink more. Instead, he got up, walked to the window. Coronado stretched out below, lights twinkling. Somewhere out there his team was training, getting ready for the next mission, moving forward while Marcus sat here drowning. His reflection in the window looked like a stranger. When had he gotten so hollow? When had his eyes started looking like his father's? The comparison hit like a punch. Frank Morrison's eyes, hard, distant, the eyes of a man who'd seen too much and carried it alone. Marcus had spent his whole childhood watching those eyes, wondering what his father was thinking, wondering if Frank was proud of him, wondering if anything Marcus did would ever be enough. And then, Marcus had become exactly like him. The realization made his chest tight. "I'm not him," Marcus said to the empty apartment. "I'm not." But the reflection in the window called him a liar. Tommy Chen arrived like a hurricane, loud, unstoppable, refusing to be ignored. "You look like shit," he said, walking past Marcus into the apartment. "Good to see you too." Tommy spotted the bourbon immediately. "Starting early?" "It's 1900 hours. It's also Monday." Tommy grabbed the bottle, examined the level. "How much have you had?" "Not enough." "That's what I'm afraid of." Tommy put the bottle in a cabinet, turned to face Marcus. "Chen cleared you for leave." "I know." 4 weeks. "I can count." "So what's the plan? Sit here and drink yourself into a coma?" Marcus's jaw clenched. "I don't need a babysitter." "No, you need a friend. Unfortunately, you're stuck with me." Tommy sat on the couch, gestured for Marcus to join him. "Talk to me." "Nothing to talk about." "Marcus, it's me. I was there. I saw what happened." And there it was. The thing neither of them had said directly in 6 months. Syria. The mission that went sideways. The ambush nobody saw coming. The moment when everything fell apart. "I don't want to talk about Syria," Marcus said. "Then talk about something else. Talk about your dad. When's the last time you called him?" Marcus felt his defenses slam up. "That's none of your business." "Your mom died, man. You didn't go to the funeral. You haven't called your dad since. That makes it my business." "Why? Because you're worried about me?" "Because I'm scared for you." Tommy's voice was quiet. "You're coming apart. I can see it. The whole team can see it. And you won't let anyone help." Marcus wanted to argue, wanted to say he was fine, but the words stuck. "I can't," he said instead. "Can't what?" "Can't call him. Can't face him. Can't—" Marcus's voice cracked. "Can't tell him the truth." "What truth?" "That I'm a coward." The admission came out raw. That I missed Mom's funeral because I was too afraid to face Dad. That I've been avoiding him because I don't know how to tell him I'm broken. That everything he taught me, Everything he believed about me was wrong. Tommy was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "Your dad's a Vietnam vet, right?" "Yeah, so?" "So he knows what broken looks like. He's been there." Tommy leaned forward. "You think you're the first Morrison to come home from war different? You think your dad doesn't understand what you're going through?" "He wouldn't understand this." "Why not?" "Because he's Frank Morrison. He doesn't break. He doesn't quit. He survived Vietnam and came home and built a life and raised a kid and never once complained, never once showed weakness." "Or maybe," Tommy said carefully, "he just never showed it to you." The words hit hard. Marcus thought about his childhood, about the nights his father sat alone in the garage, about the nightmares Frank pretended weren't happening, about the way Frank's hands shook sometimes when it rained, about all the signs Marcus had been too young to understand. "He needed me," Marcus said quietly. "When Mom died, he needed me, and I wasn't there." "So be there now." "It's too late." "It's never too late." Tommy stood up. "You got 4 weeks leave. Go home. See your dad. Say the things you should have said 18 months ago." "I can't just show up." "Yes, you can. You're his son. He'll want to see you." Marcus wasn't so sure. 18 months was a long time. Long enough for Frank to give up. Long enough for the silence to become permanent. Long enough for a father to stop hoping his son would call. "What if he doesn't want to see me?" Marcus asked. "Then at least you tried." Tommy headed for the door, stopped. "Marcus, you're drowning. I can see it. And you're too damn proud to ask for help. But your dad? He's the one person who might understand. Give him the chance." After Tommy left, Marcus sat alone with his thoughts. His phone was still on the counter, still showing yesterday's notifications. One voicemail. Marcus picked up the phone, looked at it for a long time. Then he opened his voicemail, pressed play. His father's voice came through, rough and tired and achingly familiar. "Marcus, it's your father. I know it's been a while. I know you're busy, but I just wanted to hear your voice. Call me when you can. I love you, son." The message ended. Marcus played it again and again. Heard something he'd missed the first time, something beneath the words. Pain. His father was in pain. Marcus's hands started shaking, not from the bourbon, from something deeper. "Dad?" he whispered. The apartment suddenly felt too small, too empty, too far from where he needed to be. Marcus grabbed his phone, pulled up his father's number. His finger hovered over the call button. But what would he say? Sorry for disappearing? Sorry for missing Mom's funeral? Sorry for being exactly the son Frank didn't raise him to be? The fear paralyzed him. Instead, Marcus opened a browser, started searching for flights to Virginia. The earliest one left tomorrow morning, 600 departure. He could be home by noon. Home. When had he stopped thinking of his father's house as home? Marcus booked the ticket before he could change his mind. Then he called his father. The phone rang. Once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5. Voicemail. "Dad, it's Marcus." His voice came out rough. "I got your message. I'm sorry I didn't call back sooner. I'm coming home. Tomorrow. I'll be there by noon. We need to talk. There's a lot I need to say. A lot I should have said 18 months ago." He paused. "I love you too, Dad. I'll see you soon." He hung up, sat back. And for the first time in 6 months, Marcus felt something other than emptiness. He felt hope. It was fragile, terrifying, and probably foolish. But it was there. Frank Morrison didn't hear his phone ring. He was too busy watching Devon Price's car pull up in his alley again. 3 days. That's how long it had been since the first visit. Devon apparently couldn't wait until the first of the month. Frank stood in his kitchen, .45 in his hand, and made a choice. The back door opened. Devon walked in like he owned the place, Jerry and Carlos behind him. "Hey, old man, we were just in the Devon stopped when he saw the gun. "Get out of my house," Frank said quietly. Devon's surprise lasted maybe 2 seconds. Then he smiled. "You gonna shoot me? You even know how to use that thing? I've killed better men than you. Get out." "Better men?" Devon laughed. "Old man, you're shaking. You can barely stand. You really think you're gonna—" Frank shot the wall next to Devon's head. The sound was deafening in the small kitchen. All 3 men jumped. Carlos actually screamed. "Next one goes through your knee," Frank said. "Then the other one. Then I'll start on your friends. You've got 5 seconds to leave." Devon's face went from cocky to dangerous. "You just made a mistake." 4 seconds. "You can't watch your house 24/7, old man. You gotta sleep sometime." 3 seconds. "We'll burn this place down around you." 2. Devon backed up, hands raised. "This ain't over." 1. They ran. Frank heard their car tear out of the alley, tires screaming. He lowered the gun, hands trembling now that it was done. His ribs were on fire. His vision swam. He made it to a chair before his legs gave out. The phone in his pocket buzzed. He pulled it out, saw a voicemail notification. From Marcus. Frank's hands shook worse as he played it. His son's voice filled the kitchen, apologizing, saying he was coming home, saying he loved him. Frank listened to it 3 times. Then he looked at the gun in his hand, at the bullet hole in his wall, at the blood spots still on his floor. Marcus was coming home. Tomorrow. To this mess. To his broken father. To a war Frank had just started with men who wouldn't stop until he was dead. "What have I done?" Frank whispered. But he knew the answer. He'd finally taken a stand. The question was whether he'd live long enough to see his son again. Frank spent the night in his living room chair, gun across his lap, watching the windows. Every car that passed made his heart race. Every shadow in the alley looked like Devon coming back. The hours crawled by with the weight of inevitability. They would return. The only question was when. By 0500, Frank's body was screaming. The broken ribs had settled into a constant burn. His face throbbed. The cancer fatigue pulled at him like gravity, making every breath an effort. But he stayed awake. Marcus was coming home at noon. 6 more hours. Frank just had to survive 6 more hours. He thought about calling the police. His finger hovered over 911 3 times. But what would he tell them? That he'd shot at 3 men in his own house? That he'd escalated a theft into something that could get him killed? The police would arrest him as likely as help him. So Frank sat alone with his gun and his fear and his hope and watched the sun come up through the bullet hole in his kitchen wall. At 6:30, someone knocked on his front door. Frank's hand tightened on the .45. He moved to the window, looked through the curtain. Angela Martinez stood on his porch wearing hospital scrubs. She held a white paper bag and 2 coffee cups. Frank opened the door. "You look worse," she said, pushing past him. "Did you sleep?" "No." "Good, sleep is overrated." She set the bag on his coffee table. "I brought breakfast. You need to eat." Angela, and don't tell me you're fine. I heard the gunshot last night. Frank's chest tightened. How much did you hear? Enough to know you're in trouble. She pulled out 2 breakfast sandwiches, handed him one. The whole block heard it. Mrs. Chen called me, scared out of her mind. She thought they were shooting you. I was shooting at them. Angela's eyes widened. You shot one of them? No, warning shot. They left. Jesus Christ, Mr. Morrison. She sat down hard. Do you understand what you just did? The Southside Kings don't forgive. They don't forget. They will come back. I know. Then you need to leave, right now. Pack a bag, go to a hotel, somewhere they can't find you. I can't. Frank's voice was firm. My son is coming home today. Angela went very still. Your son, the one who doesn't call. He called last night. He's on his way. That's good. That's really good. She paused. But it doesn't change the fact that you're in danger. Those men will kill you. Not if my son gets here first. And what's your son going to do? Talk them to death? Frank met her eyes. My son is a Navy SEAL. The words hung in the air. Angela's expression shifted. A SEAL? Lieutenant Commander, SEAL Team 7. 23 confirmed missions I know about. Probably twice that many I don't. Then why hasn't he been here? Why hasn't he called? The question hurt. Frank had asked himself the same thing 1,000 times. Because I raised him to put duty first, and he learned too well. Angela was quiet for a moment. Then she said, When does he arrive? Noon. That's 5.5 hours. You need to stay alive that long. I will. You don't sound sure. Frank wasn't. His body was failing. The gun felt heavy in his hand, and Devon Price wasn't the type to wait patiently. I have to be sure, Frank said. I have to see him. I have to. His voice cracked. I have to tell him I'm dying. Angela's face went pale. What? Stage 4 pancreatic cancer. 6 months, maybe 8. I found out 3 weeks before Sarah died. Never told her, never told Marcus, never told anyone. Mr. Morrison, I'm not looking for sympathy. I'm just telling you why I can't leave. Why I can't run. This house, this neighborhood, it's all I have left. And if I'm going to die anyway, I'd rather die on my feet than running. Angela wiped her eyes. You're the stubbornest man I've ever met. I've heard that before. From your wife? Every day for 32 years. Frank almost smiled. She said it was my best quality, and my worst. She was right. Angela stood up. I have to go to work. But I'm calling my brother. He's a cop. Maybe he can... No cops. Mr. Morrison, no. Cops mean reports. Reports mean questions. Questions mean they find out about the gun, the shooting, all of it. Then I'm in custody when Marcus arrives. No. Angela looked like she wanted to argue. Instead, she pulled out her phone, typed something, showed him the screen. It was a text to someone named Miguel. Need you to watch Mr. Morrison's house today. Southside King's trouble. He's armed and stubborn. If anything happens, call me immediately. My brother may be a cop, but he's off duty today. He lives 2 blocks over. He'll keep an eye out. I don't need a babysitter. Yeah, well, you're getting one anyway. She headed for the door, stopped. Your son, when he gets here, tell him everything. Don't hide the cancer. Don't hide the beating. Don't hide what happened last night. You've been carrying this alone too long. I don't want him to see me like this. Tough. He's your son. He loves you. Let him help. After she left, Frank ate the sandwich without tasting it, drank the coffee. tried to calm his nerves. The house felt different in daylight. The blood spots on the floor looked darker. The bullet hole looked bigger. The whole place reeked of violence and fear and things coming apart. This was where Marcus would arrive. To his broken father, in a broken house, starting a war he couldn't win. Frank almost laughed. Some homecoming. Marcus's flight landed at 10:45. He'd barely slept. Spent the whole flight rehearsing what he'd say, how he'd explain, how he'd apologize. But every scenario ended the same way, with his father's disappointed eyes, with the silence that said more than words ever could. By the time he picked up his rental car, Marcus's hands were shaking. Not from fear, from something worse. Hope. The drive through his old neighborhood felt like time travel. Nothing had changed, and everything had changed. The elementary school where he'd learned to read was now boarded up. The park where he'd played baseball was overgrown. The corner store was a shell with broken windows. The decay was everywhere. Marcus pulled up to his father's house at 11:52. His chest tightened. The house looked older, smaller, sadder than he remembered. Paint peeling, roof sagging. The lawn that Frank had always kept military precise was patchy and brown. Something was wrong. Marcus got out, grabbed his bag, walked to the front door. His heart hammered. His throat felt tight. He knocked. No answer. Knocked again. "Dad? It's Marcus." Still nothing. Marcus tried the doorknob. Locked. He pulled out his phone, called his father's number, heard ringing inside the house, but no one answered. Fear spiked through him. Marcus went to the side window, looked through. What he saw made his blood turn cold. His father, slumped in a chair, gun across his lap, face beaten and swollen. Not moving. "Dad!" Marcus slammed his fist on the window. "Dad!" No response. Marcus's training kicked in. He ran to the back, found the door unlocked, burst through. "Dad!" Frank jerked awake, gun coming up. "Whoa!" Marcus raised his hands. "It's me! It's Marcus!" The gun lowered. Frank's eyes focused, and Marcus saw his father's face clearly for the first time in 18 months. The bruises, the swelling, the blood. "Jesus Christ," Marcus breathed. "What happened to you?" Frank tried to stand, grimaced, sat back down. "You came." "Of course I came. Dad, who did this?" "It's nothing." "The hell it's nothing? You look like you went 3 rounds with a heavyweight." Marcus crossed the room, knelt beside his father. "Talk to me." Frank's jaw worked. Pride and pain warred in his expression. "There were some men. They wanted money. I said no." "Some men." Marcus's voice went flat. Dangerous. "How many?" 3. "When?" 3 days ago, and last night." Marcus's hands clenched. "They came back?" "I shot at them. They left." "You—" Marcus stood up, paced, turned back. "Dad, why didn't you call the police?" "And tell them what? That I shot at men in my own house? That would have gone well." Marcus wanted to argue, wanted to shake his father, wanted to scream. Instead, he said, "Are you hurt anywhere else?" "Broken ribs, loose tooth, nothing serious." "Nothing serious." Marcus's voice cracked. "Dad, you're 73 years old. You could have been killed." "But I wasn't." Frank met his son's eyes. "You came home. That's what matters." The simple statement broke something in Marcus. All the words he'd practiced, all the apologies he'd rehearsed, dried up. He sank into the chair across from his father and felt 18 months of silence crash down on him. "I'm sorry," he said. "For everything. For not calling. For missing Mom's funeral. For disappearing. I'm so sorry." Frank was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "Why didn't you come to the funeral?" "I was—" Marcus stopped. The lie about Syria died in his throat. "I was scared." "Of what?" "Of you. Of seeing you alone. Of having to face what I'd done. What I'd become." Marcus's voice was raw. "I turned into you, Dad. Cold. Distant. Married to the mission. And I hated myself for it." "You think I'm cold?" "I think you taught me to be strong. To never show weakness. To put duty first. And I learned so well that I forgot how to be your son." Frank's expression shifted. "Marcus, I never wanted— I know you didn't. But that's what happened. And when Mom died, I couldn't face the man I'd become, couldn't face you. So I ran." Marcus wiped his eyes. "I've been running for 18 months. And I'm done." Frank reached out, gripped Marcus's hand. His fingers were weak but steady. "I'm dying," Frank said. The words stopped time. Marcus stared. "What?" "Pancreatic cancer, stage 4. 6 months, maybe less." "No," Marcus shook his head. "No, that's not— When did you—" 3 weeks before your mother died. I never told her. Never told you. Thought I could handle it alone." "You can't," Marcus's voice broke. "Dad, you can't die." "Everyone dies, son. I just know my schedule." Marcus wanted to scream, wanted to rage, wanted to rewind time and make different choices. Instead, he said, "We'll get you treatment. The best doctors. Whatever it takes." "It's too late for that. It's never too late." "Marcus, no!" Marcus stood up. "I just got here. I just came home. You don't get to tell me it's too late." Frank stood too, slower, grimacing with pain. "I'm not giving up. But I'm not running from the truth either. I'm dying. And before I do, there are things you need to know." "Like what?" "Like the men who beat me. They're not done. They'll come back. They'll come back angry. And when they do—" A car engine roared outside. Both men went still. Marcus moved to the window, looked out. 3 men getting out of a black Impala. The one in front had a snake tattoo on his forearm. They were carrying baseball bats. "That them?" Marcus asked. "Yes." Marcus's expression went cold. The shift was instant and complete, from grieving son to something else, something deadly. "Stay here," he said. "Marcus, don't." But Marcus was already moving. He walked out the front door like he owned the world. Devon Price stopped halfway up the walk. "Who the hell are you?" "I'm the man asking you to leave," Marcus said calmly. "Oh yeah?" Devon lifted his bat. "And what if we don't?" "Then this goes badly for you." Devon laughed. Jerry and Carlos laughed with him. They thought Marcus was just another neighbor, another fool who didn't understand how things worked. They had no idea. "Old man in there shot at us," Devon said. "We're here to teach him respect. You want to get hurt, stick around. Otherwise, walk away." "I'm not going anywhere." Devon's smile faded. "Last chance, hero." Marcus didn't move, didn't blink, just stood there with the stillness of a predator. "You don't want this fight," Marcus said quietly. Yeah? What makes you so? Marcus moved. He covered the distance in 3 steps. His hand shot out, caught Devon's bat mid-swing, twisted it free. Devon didn't even see the punch coming. It caught him in the solar plexus. All air left his lungs. He dropped like a stone. Jerry swung his bat. Marcus ducked under it, swept Jerry's legs, put him face first into the ground. The bat clattered away. Carlos ran. Marcus let him go. Turned to Devon, who was gasping on the lawn. "Who are you?" Devon wheezed. Marcus crouched down, voice ice cold. "I'm Frank Morrison's son, and you just made the worst mistake of your life." Inside the house, Frank watched through the window. His son, his boy, moving like death itself. Frank had always known Marcus was good at what he did, but knowing it and seeing it were different things. This wasn't his son anymore. This was a weapon, and Frank didn't know whether to be proud or terrified. Marcus came back inside, breathing easily despite what had just happened. "They won't be back," he said. "You can't know that." "Yeah, I can." Marcus pulled out his phone. "I'm making some calls. This ends now." "Marcus, Dad?" Marcus's voice was firm. "You took care of me my whole life. Let me take care of you now. Please." Frank looked at his son, really looked at him, saw the scars, the hardness, the weight he carried, but underneath it all, saw the boy who used to climb into his lap during thunderstorms, who used to believe his father could fix anything. "Okay," Frank said. Marcus made 3 phone calls. Each was brief, professional, cold. When he finished, he said, "We're leaving." "What?" "This house isn't safe. I'm taking you somewhere they can't find you." "I'm not leaving my home." "Dad, they'll burn this place down, maybe with you in it. We're leaving." Frank wanted to argue, wanted to stand his ground, but he was tired. So tired. And for the first time in 18 months, he wasn't alone. "Where are we going?" he asked. "Somewhere safe. Somewhere I can take care of you." Marcus's voice softened. "Somewhere we can figure this out together." Frank nodded slowly. "I need to pack." "I'll help you." As they moved through the house, gathering clothes and medications and the few things that mattered, Frank felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Relief. His son was home, and whatever came next, they'd face it together. The cancer, the thugs, the broken years between them, all of it. Together. Marcus drove them to a hotel 20 miles outside the city. Nothing fancy, just a place with security cameras and a clerk who didn't ask questions when Marcus paid cash for 2 weeks up front. Frank sat in the passenger seat, quiet. He'd barely spoken since they left the house, just watched the neighborhood disappear in the rear-view mirror, his face unreadable. When they got to the room, Marcus helped his father inside. Frank moved like every step hurt, which it probably did. The broken ribs, the beating, the cancer eating him from the inside. Marcus couldn't imagine the pain. But Frank didn't complain. Morrison men never did. "Sit down," Marcus said, gesturing to one of the beds. "I'll get your medication." "I can do it myself." "Dad, please." Frank sat, let Marcus bring him the pills and water, swallowed them without comment. The silence between them was thick with everything unsaid. Marcus pulled up a chair, sat backwards on it, arms crossed over the back. "We need to talk." "About what?" "Everything. The cancer, the treatment options, getting you to better doctors." "There are no better doctors. I've seen 3 oncologists. They all said the same thing." "Then we get a 4th opinion, a 5th. We don't give up." Frank's expression softened. Son, I appreciate what you're trying to do, but some battles can't be won. You don't know that. Yes, I do. Frank met his eyes. I've had 6 months to accept it. You've had 6 minutes. I understand you're not ready, but I am. Marcus felt his throat tighten. How can you be ready to die? Because I'm 73. I've lived a full life, fought in a war, married the love of my life, raised a son I'm proud of. He paused. The only thing I regret is not having more time with you. The words hit like a freight train. You have time, Marcus said. I'm here now. I'm not going anywhere. For how long? Until your leave ends? Until they call you back to whatever mission can't wait? I'll resign. Frank's eyes widened. What? I'll resign my commission. Leave the teams. Stay here with you. Absolutely not. Dad, Marcus, the Navy is your life. You can't throw that away from me. You're my father. You're more important than any mission. No. Frank's voice was firm. I won't let you sacrifice your career because I'm dying. That's not happening. Then what do you want me to do? Just leave? Go back to California and pretend everything's fine? I want you to live your life. I want you to serve your country. I want you to be the man I raised you to be. Marcus stood up, paced. The man you raised me to be abandoned his father for 18 months. The man you raised me to be missed his mother's funeral. That's not something to be proud of. You had your reasons. My reasons were bullshit! Marcus's voice cracked. I was scared, Dad. Scared of being vulnerable. Scared of admitting I was broken. Scared of seeing disappointment in your eyes when you realized your son wasn't as strong as you thought. Frank was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, You think I don't know what broken looks like? You never showed it. Because I thought that's what fathers were supposed to do. Be strong. Never crack. Set an example. Frank's voice grew rough. But Sarah used to tell me I was teaching you the wrong lessons. That strength wasn't about hiding pain. It was about facing it. I didn't listen. And now, here we are. Marcus sat back down, suddenly exhausted. We're a mess, aren't we? We're Morrisons. It's what we do best. Despite everything, Marcus almost smiled. Then his phone buzzed. He checked it, frowned. What? Frank asked. Text from Tommy. Says I need to call him. It's urgent. Marcus stepped outside, dialed. Tommy picked up on the first ring. Where are you? Tommy asked. With my dad. Why? Because I just got a very interesting call from a Detective Rodriguez with Virginia PD. Seems 3 men showed up at the hospital with various injuries. When asked what happened, they said a guy matching your description attacked them unprovoked. Marcus's jaw clenched. They're lying. I know that. You know that. But Rodriguez doesn't. He's looking for you. Wants to ask some questions. Let him look. Marcus, this is serious. If they file charges, they won't. They're gang members attacking a 73-year-old veteran. No DA is going to prosecute. You don't know that. And even if you're right, this could blow back on you, on your career. Marcus looked through the window at his father. Frank sat on the bed, shoulders slumped, looking every bit his 73 years. I don't care, Marcus said. What? My dad has stage 4 cancer, Tommy. He's got maybe 6 months. My career can wait. Tommy was silent for a beat. Jesus, Marcus. I'm sorry. Yeah, me too. What do you need? Can you make this go away? The police thing? I can try. I know some people in Virginia. Let me make some calls. Thanks. Marcus? Your dad. Is he? No, he's not okay. But he's alive. And I'm going to make sure he stays that way as long as possible. After hanging up, Marcus went back inside. Frank looked up. Trouble? Nothing I can't handle. The guys I took down are crying to the police. Marcus, don't worry about it. I've got people handling it. He sat down. What I'm worried about is you. When's your next chemo appointment? Friday. I'm taking you. You don't have to, Dad. I'm taking you. Frank nodded slowly. Okay. They sat in silence for a while. Then Frank said, You ask me why I'm ready to die. Can I tell you the real reason? Marcus's chest tightened. Yeah? Because I'm tired. Tired of being alone. Tired of this house falling apart around me. Tired of fighting. Frank's voice was quiet. When Sarah died, a part of me died too. The part that wanted to keep going. And when you stopped calling, when the silence stretched into months, I thought maybe it was better this way. Maybe dying would be easier than admitting I'd failed as a father. You didn't fail. Let me finish. Frank held up a hand. I spent 18 months telling myself you were busy, that SEALs don't keep regular hours, that you'd call when you could. But deep down I knew the truth. You'd become what I taught you to be. And in teaching you to be strong, I'd taught you to be alone. Marcus felt tears burning his eyes. I'm sorry. Don't be. You're here now. That's what matters. Frank's voice grew firm. But Marcus, you need to understand something. This cancer, it's not your fault. It's not your responsibility to fix. You being here, that's enough. That's more than enough. It's not enough for me. Then what do you want? Marcus wiped his eyes. I want time. Real time. Not days or weeks. I want years. I want to make up for the 18 months I lost. I want to tell you about Syria, about what happened, about why I'm broken. I want you to tell me about Vietnam, about the nightmares I used to hear you having, about the things you never talked about. I want... His voice broke. I want my dad. Frank reached out, gripped Marcus's shoulder. You have me, son. For whatever time is left, you have me. They sat like that for a long moment, father and son, finally connecting across the gulf that had separated them. Then Marcus's phone rang again. Different number this time, local area code. Hello? Is this Marcus Morrison? A woman's voice, scared. Who's asking? My name is Angela Martinez. I'm your father's neighbor. There's something you need to know. Marcus put her on speaker. I'm listening. After you left today, more cars showed up at your dad's house. A lot more. I'm talking 10, maybe 15 guys. They trashed the place. Broke windows, kicked in doors. Then they spray painted something on the front. Frank's face went pale. What did they paint? Marcus asked. It says, Dead Man Walking. And there's a phone number. They said to call if you want to talk before they kill your father. Marcus's expression went ice cold. Give me the number. Angela recited it. Marcus wrote it down. Thank you, he said. And Angela, stay away from that house. These men are dangerous. I know. I've seen what they do. She paused. Your father, is he okay? He's with me. He's safe. Good. Because those men, they're not playing anymore. They want blood. After she hung up, Frank said, You can't call them. Watch me. Marcus, this is exactly what they want. They're trying to draw you out. Then it's working. Marcus dialed the number. It rang twice. Then a voice answered. Older than Devon. Rougher. Who's this? Marcus Morrison. You left a message at my father's house. A dark laugh. Morrison? Yeah, I heard about you. Heard you put 3 of my boys in the hospital. They had it coming. Maybe. But here's the thing, Morrison. This ain't about them anymore. This is about respect. Your old man disrespected us. Shot at my guys. Now you come in here acting like some kind of hero. That disrespects me. I don't care about your respect. You should. Because I run the Southside Kings, and when someone disrespects us, we make examples. Try it. See what happens. Oh, we will. See, we know you're military. We know you got training. But you can't be everywhere at once. Can't protect your daddy 24/7. Sooner or later you'll slip. And when you do, we'll be there. Marcus's voice was deadly calm. Let me tell you something. I've killed better men than you in countries you can't find on a map. I've survived ambushes, firefights, situations that would make you piss yourself. You think a street gang scares me? Maybe not. But you know what? Your daddy's got cancer. We know that. Hospital records are easy to get if you know the right people. So here's the deal. You got 6 months, maybe less. You gonna spend that time looking over your shoulder, wondering when we're coming? Or you gonna be smart? What do you want? $50,000. Cash. That's the price for leaving your old man alone. Marcus laughed, cold and bitter. You're extorting a dying man. I'm offering you peace of mind. 50 grand, and your daddy lives out his last months in peace. No fear, no threats, no midnight fires. Seems like a bargain to me. Frank grabbed Marcus's arm, shook his head, but Marcus wasn't looking at him. I'll get you your money, Marcus said. Smart. You got 48 hours. I'll text you the location. The voice paused. And Morrison? Don't even think about involving the cops. We got eyes everywhere. Anything happens to me, your daddy burns. Understood? Understood. The line went dead. Frank stood up, anger replacing fear. You can't pay them. I can, and I will. With what money? Where are you going to get $50,000 in 2 days? Marcus met his father's eyes. I've got savings. Combat pay from deployments. I've been saving for years because I had nothing to spend it on. I won't let you throw your money away on thugs. It's not about the money. Then what is it about? It's about you. Marcus's voice rose. It's about making sure you live long enough to finish your treatment. Long enough for us to have the time we should have had 18 months ago. Long enough for me to be the son you deserved. Marcus, no. Listen to me. You said you're ready to die. Fine, but I'm not ready to let you. And if $50,000 buys us time, buys us peace, then that's what I'm paying. End of discussion. Frank stared at his son, saw the determination there, the desperation, the love. You really mean that? Frank said quietly. Every word. Frank sat back down, suddenly looking older than his 73 years. Your mother would have known what to say, how to make this right. What would she say? That we're both stubborn fools who love each other but don't know how to show it. A ghost of a smile crossed Frank's face. She'd tell us to stop fighting and start talking. Really talking. Then let's talk, Marcus said. Tell me about the cancer. When did you know? And Frank did. He told Marcus about the pain that started last year, about the tests, about the moment Dr. Patel sat him down and said the words that changed everything. about the choice to keep it from Sarah because she had enough to worry about with her heart, about the guilt when she died before he could tell her, about the loneliness of facing death alone. Marcus listened, didn't interrupt, just listened as his father spoke words that had been trapped for months. When Frank finished, Marcus said, "I wish you'd told me. I tried. Left you 3 voicemails, sent 4 emails. You never responded." The words landed like punches. "I deleted them," Marcus admitted. "Without listening, without reading, because I was too much of a coward to face what I'd done." "What did you do?" And then it was Marcus's turn. He told his father about Syria, about the mission that went wrong, about Ramirez and Johnson and Williams, about the guilt that ate at him every day, about the mandatory psych evals and Dr. Chen, and the diagnosis that he was broken. He told Frank about the bourbon and the sleepless nights, and the way he'd volunteered for every mission because going home meant facing silence. He told him everything, and when Marcus finished, his voice raw and tears streaming down his face, Frank stood up, crossed the room, and pulled his son into his arms. "You're not broken," Frank said quietly. "You're human, and that's okay." Marcus buried his face in his father's shoulder and let himself cry. Really cry. For the first time since Syria. And Frank held him, the way he'd held Marcus as a child, the way he'd wanted to hold him 18 months ago, the way fathers hold their sons when words aren't enough. "I'm scared," Marcus whispered. "Me too, son. Me too." They stood like that until the tears stopped, until breathing got easier, until the weight pressing down on both of them felt a little lighter. Then Frank pulled back, looked Marcus in the eye. "We're going to get through this," Frank said. "The cancer, the thugs, all of it. Together." "Together," Marcus echoed. For the first time in 18 months, the word felt true. But outside, in the darkness, Devon Price sat in his car and watched the hotel. He'd followed them, taken pictures, sent them to his boss. And now he waited, because Marcus Morrison might be a Navy SEAL, but Devon had an army, and this war was just beginning. Marcus woke at 0300 to the sound of breaking glass. His training kicked in instantly. He rolled off the bed, grabbed the .45 he'd taken from his father, moved to the window. 3 cars in the parking lot, men getting out. At least 8 of them. Devon had found them. "Dad, get up!" Marcus's voice was calm but urgent. "We need to move, now!" Frank was already awake, already moving. Years of military training didn't fade. "How many?" "8 that I can see, probably more." "The door?" "They're heading for it." Marcus moved fast, grabbed their bags, threw them toward the bathroom. "Get in there, lock the door, don't come out until I say." "Marcus, Dad, please, I need to know you're safe." Frank wanted to argue, but he saw the look in his son's eyes, the look of a man going to war. He went to the bathroom, locked the door. Marcus checked the .45. 7 rounds. Not enough for 8 men, but it would have to do. Then his phone buzzed. Text from Tommy. "Got your location from rental car, GPS, help incoming, ETA 10 minutes. Hold position." 10 minutes might as well be 10 hours. The hotel room door exploded inward. Devon came through first, baseball bat in hand. 7 men behind him. Some had bats, 2 had guns. Marcus didn't hesitate. He shot the first gun out of a man's hand. The sound was deafening in the small room. The man screamed, clutching his shattered fingers. Everyone froze. "Next one goes in someone's chest," Marcus said. "Your choice, who?" Devon's eyes went wide. "You're crazy." "No, I'm motivated. There's a difference." Marcus's aim didn't waver. "You've got 5 seconds to leave." "We're 8 deep. You got, what, 6 rounds left?" "5. I'm a good shot. I'll make them count." One of Devon's guys backed toward the door. "Man, I didn't sign up for this." "Stay where you are," Devon barked. But 2 more men were already leaving. The guy with the shattered hand was crying, stumbling out. That left Devon and 4 others. "Last chance," Marcus said. Devon's face twisted with rage. "You think you're tough. You think—" The window behind Marcus exploded. Flashbang grenade. Marcus dove, blind and deaf from the concussion. Trained reflexes saved him. He hit the floor, rolled, came up shooting. But his vision was blurred. His ears rang. He couldn't see clearly. A bat caught him across the shoulders. Pain exploded down his spine. Marcus went down. "Got you now," Devon snarled, raising the bat for another swing. The bathroom door flew open. Frank Morrison stood there, holding a lamp like a weapon. His face was battered, his body broken, but his eyes were clear. "Get away from my son!" Devon laughed. "Old man, you can barely—" Frank threw the lamp. It caught Devon in the face, not hard enough to knock him down, but hard enough to stagger him. Marcus used the distraction, swept Devon's legs, put him on the ground, got the bat away from him. "Stay down," Marcus said, vision clearing. But Devon's men were on him, 4 against 1. They swarmed Marcus, fists and feet flying. Frank grabbed one by the collar, yanked him back. The man turned, raised his fist. And Angela Martinez appeared in the doorway with a tire iron. She hit the man across the back. He went down hard. "Nobody touches Mr. Morrison," she said. Then the room filled with people. Miguel Martinez, Angela's cop brother, came through with 3 other officers. Behind them, neighbors from Frank's street. Mrs. Chen with her cane. Mr. Rodriguez with a baseball bat of his own. The Johnsons. At least 10 people who'd been victimized by the Southside Kings. "Police! Everyone on the ground!" Devon tried to run. Marcus grabbed him, slammed him into the wall. "You made a mistake," Marcus said quietly. "You threatened my father. You threatened dying man who just wants peace. That was your first mistake. Your second was coming back." "Man, You're gonna shut up." Marcus handed Devon to Miguel. "He's all yours." The next hour was chaos. Police reports, statements, EMTs checking everyone. Miguel had a long conversation with Marcus about what happened, why it happened, and what was going to happen next. "These guys have been terrorizing the neighborhood for 2 years, Miguel said. "We've been trying to build a case, but nobody would testify. Too scared. But now?" He gestured at the neighbors who'd come to help. "Now we got 8 witnesses. We got the Kings on breaking and entering, assault with deadly weapons, extortion. They're done." "What about my dad's house?" Marcus asked. "Already got a crew over there documenting the damage. The department's got a victim assistance fund. We'll help with repairs." "And the threat? The 50,000? Phone records are beautiful things. We traced the call, found the guy who made it. Turns out he's got warrants in 3 states. He's going away for a long time." Miguel paused. "Your dad's safe, Marcus. The Kings are finished in this neighborhood." Marcus felt something loosen in his chest. "Thank you." "Don't thank me. Thank them." Miguel nodded at the neighbors. They're the ones who showed up. They're the ones who decided enough was enough. Frank was talking to Angela when Marcus found him. She was checking his ribs, making sure nothing had gotten worse. "You're lucky these didn't puncture a lung," she said. "I've been lucky my whole life," Frank replied. Today's no different. Today you threw a lamp at a gang member. Seemed like a good idea at the time. Angela smiled, then saw Marcus. Your son's tougher than he looks. He gets it from his mother, Frank said. Then to Marcus, you okay? Bruised, but yeah. You? Same. Frank stood up slowly. Is it over? It's over. Relief flooded Frank's face. Then something else. Something that looked like regret. What? Marcus asked. I should have called you 18 months ago. Should have swallowed my pride and told you about the cancer. About everything. If I had, then we wouldn't be here now, Marcus finished. We wouldn't have had this moment, this fight, this chance to actually talk. You think it took a gang attack for us to talk? Yeah, I do. Marcus smiled sadly. We're Morrisons. We don't do easy. Frank laughed, winced at the pain in his ribs. Your mother would have hated all of this. Mom would have hit Devin with the lamp before you did. True. Frank's expression grew serious. So what now? Now we go to your chemo appointment Friday, and every appointment after that. We fight this cancer as long as we can fight it. And your career? The Navy? Marcus had been thinking about that all night. I'm taking extended leave. Maybe permanent. The Navy will survive without me. But you're my dad. I only get one of those. Marcus, this isn't negotiable. I'm staying. Marcus's voice was firm. We've got 6 months, maybe 8. I'm not wasting another day. Frank's eyes got wet. I don't deserve you. Yeah, you do. You raised me. You taught me everything that matters. You showed me what honor looks like, what duty means. Now let me show you what I learned. They stood in the hotel room, surrounded by police and neighbors and the wreckage of a fight that had nearly killed them both. And Frank Morrison, 73 years old, dying of cancer, beaten and broken and tired, felt something he hadn't felt in 18 months. Hope. The next morning, Marcus got a call from Dr. Chen. I heard about Virginia, she said. You okay? Yeah, banged up, but okay. And your father? Alive. Fighting. We're good. I'm glad. She paused. Marcus, about your leave. I'm extending it. Indefinite medical leave. No questions asked. You can do that? I'm doing it. You need time with your father. Take it. The Navy will be here when you're ready. If you're ever ready. Thank you. Don't thank me. Just take care of yourself. And Marcus, what you're doing, being there for your dad, that's the bravest thing you've done in your career. Remember that. After she hung up, Marcus went to check on his father. Frank was awake, sitting up, looking out the window at the sunrise. Beautiful morning, Frank said. Yeah, it is. I was thinking about your mother, about what she'd say if she could see us now. What do you think she'd say? That it's about damn time we figured it out. Frank smiled. She always said we were too much alike, too stubborn, too proud. She said someday we'd crash into each other and either break completely or finally understand each other. Which one did we do? Both. And that's okay. Frank turned to his son. Marcus, I need to tell you something. About Vietnam. About the things I never talked about. And he did. For the next 2 hours, Frank Morrison talked. He told Marcus about the friends he'd lost, about the guilt of surviving, about the nightmares that still came 40 years later, about the way war changed a man from the inside out. He told Marcus things he'd never told Sarah, things he'd carried alone for 5 decades. And Marcus listened, really listened, because he understood now in a way he never had before. His father wasn't distant because he didn't care. He was distant because he cared too much and didn't know how to show it. They were the same, father and son, both warriors, both broken, both trying to be strong enough to deserve the love they'd been given. When Frank finished, Marcus said, "Thank you for telling me. I should have told you years ago. We've got time now. Tell me more. Tell me everything." And Frank did. They spent the week in that hotel room, talking. Really talking. Making up for 18 months of silence. Making up for a lifetime of words left unsaid. Tommy flew out from California, brought Marcus's gear, stayed for 3 days. He and Frank swapped war stories, compared scars, bonded the way warriors do. Angela brought food, checked Frank's medical status, became part of the family without anyone officially asking. Miguel stopped by with updates on the case against the Southside Kings. 14 arrests, RICO charges pending. The whole organization falling apart. The neighborhood rallied. People Marcus had never met showed up to help. They repaired Frank's house, replaced the windows, painted over the graffiti, made it home again. On Friday, Marcus took his father to chemo. He sat with Frank through the treatment, held his hand when the nausea hit, drove him home, and stayed up with him through the worst of it. Dr. Patel pulled Marcus aside afterward. "Your father's cancer is aggressive, but his spirit is strong. Stronger than it was last month. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. I'm just being his son. That's exactly what he needs." The weeks turned into months. Marcus and Frank fell into a rhythm. Morning walks when Frank felt strong enough. Afternoons working on the house together. Evenings talking about everything and nothing. Marcus met his father's neighbors, learned their names, heard their stories, became part of the community Frank had protected. He also started talking to Dr. Chen again, really talking, about Syria, about the guilt, about learning to live with what he'd done and what he'd lost. "You're healing," she said during one video call. "Both of you. I don't know if I'll ever be whole again." Whole is overrated. Honest is better. Marcus thought about that. About his father's broken ribs and terminal cancer and refusal to give up. About the way Frank got up every morning, despite the pain, despite knowing how the story ended. That was courage. Not the kind Marcus had learned in the teams. The quieter kind. The harder kind. The kind that said life was worth living even when death was coming. In the 4th month, Frank's condition worsened. The cancer spread despite treatment. Dr. Patel said it was time to think about hospice, about making Frank comfortable. "How long?" Marcus asked. "Weeks, maybe a month." Marcus told his father that night. Frank took it calmly. "I know, I can feel it. I'm not ready. Neither am I. But we don't get to choose the timeline." Frank squeezed Marcus's hand. "But we did get this, these months, this time. That's more than I hoped for. It's not enough. It never is. But it's what we have, and that makes it precious." The last 3 weeks were hard. Frank's pain increased, his strength faded, but his mind stayed sharp. He told Marcus stories about Marcus's childhood, about Sarah, about the life they'd built together. He made Marcus promise to keep living, to go back to the Navy or find something new, to not waste the time he had left. "Promise me," Frank said one night, his voice weak. "I promise, Dad." "And Marcus, forgive yourself. For Syria, for missing your mother's funeral, for all of it. You're a good man. You're my son. That's enough. On a Tuesday morning in early spring, with Marcus holding his hand and sunlight streaming through the window, Frank Morrison died. He died peacefully. No pain, no fear, just a long breath out and then stillness. Marcus sat with his father's body for an hour, said goodbye, said all the things he'd wished he'd said 18 months earlier. Then he called Angela, called Tommy, called Dr. Patel, made the arrangements his mother had made alone. But this time, Marcus wasn't alone. The funeral was standing room only. Neighbors came, fellow veterans, people Frank had helped over the years. The community he'd protected showed up to honor him. Miguel gave a speech about Frank's courage. Angela talked about his kindness. Tommy spoke about sacrifice and fatherhood and the legacy men leave behind. And Marcus, standing at his father's grave, said simply, "He was my dad. He taught me strength. But in the end, he taught me something more important. He taught me that being strong enough to be vulnerable, to admit you need help, to let people in, that's the hardest strength of all. And that's the lesson I'll carry the rest of my life." After the funeral, Marcus stood in his father's house. The house was clean now, repaired, full of memories. Tommy stood beside him. "What now?" "I don't know. Maybe I go back to the teams. Maybe I don't. But whatever I do it different. I do it the way he would have wanted. Present. Connected. Human. He'd be proud of you. I hope so." Marcus looked around the house. "He left me this place, left me everything. Said in his will that I should use it to help veterans. Turn it into something good. Will you?" Marcus thought about his father's last months, about the community that had rallied, about Angela and Miguel and all the people who'd shown up when it mattered. "Yeah, I think I will. Dad spent his life serving. Time I did the same." 3 months later, the Frank Morrison Veterans Center opened in that house. It offered counseling for vets struggling with PTSD, housing assistance for those facing homelessness, a community space for people who'd served and needed support. Marcus ran it, left the Navy with honors, found a new mission. He met with veterans every day, shared his story about Syria, about his father, about learning that strength wasn't about never breaking. It was about having the courage to put yourself back together. Angela helped. So did Miguel. So did the neighbors who'd stood up to the South Side Kings. The center grew, helped hundreds of veterans, became a model for other communities. And every morning, Marcus stood in front of his father's picture on the wall and said the same words. "I'm here, Dad. I'm present. I'm living the way you taught me, the way Mom wanted, the way I should have been living all along." On the anniversary of Frank's death, Marcus visited the grave. He stood there for a long time, remembering. The 18 months of silence, the beating that brought them back together, the months of healing, the lessons learned too late and just in time. "I miss you," Marcus said. "Every day. But I'm okay. Better than okay. I'm living, really living. And that's because of you. Because you showed me, even dying, that life is worth fighting for. That connection matters. That being someone's son, someone's father, someone's friend, that's the mission that matters most." The wind rustled through the trees. Marcus could almost hear his father's voice, could almost feel Sarah's hand on his shoulder. They were gone, both of them. But they weren't absent. They lived in every veteran Marcus helped, in every conversation he had, in every moment he chose to be present instead of running. That was their legacy. And Marcus Morrison, former Navy SEAL, son of Frank Morrison, carried it forward. Not perfectly, not without pain, but honestly, courageously, and with the strength his father had shown him, the strength to keep going, keep loving, keep fighting, even when the odds were impossible and the ending was certain. Because that's what warriors do. Not because they can't break, but because they know how to heal.